Hard cold truth here, friends. 42% of the things you've been told about retirement are false. They are not correct. And 38% of the things you've been told about retirement, straight up lies. No, these are real statistics. Trust me, I know about retirement. Look, there's a lot of myths rolling around out there about retirement, and most of them just aren't true. So today I'm going to give you 5 myths about retirement that if you believe them, it could ruin some of the best years of your life. Let's get into it right now. This is the Retirementality channel. This is a place where we flip the script on life after work, and we want to change your mentality about retirement. Because look, folks, getting to retirement, it's hard. It's not easy. And all the problems in life don't just stop once you get to retirement. It's not all just rainbows and lollipops. So, if you believe some of these myths that are going around, it can either make you delay your retirement and keep you working longer, or vice versa. You might retire too early and run out of money. So there's a fine balance in there. And the more planning and preparation and knowledge that you have, the better equipped you're going to be. And look, I've made some of these mistakes myself. I retired at 45. I moved down to the Virgin Islands. I lived on a little island, and then I got bored, and then I went back to Florida, and now I'm here in Spain. I just bought 35 acres up here in the mountains in Spain. And that's the first myth, is that you're going to get bored in retirement. And you can get bored in retirement. I wasn't bored with retirement. I got bored in the place I chose to live, because it turns out that everybody's dream of living on a Caribbean island and going to the beach every day, that gets pretty old, and that island starts to shrink pretty fast. So I found out living in the Virgin Islands wasn't the best place for me to retire. For some people, it might be great. I just didn't put a lot of thought into what I wanted my daily activities to look like. So you have to foresee into the future, like, what do you want to wake up and do every day in retirement? For me now today, not today, I didn't do it today, but most days I get up and I come out here and I work on my property. Here's a big pile of debris that I chopped down because all these roads that I'm walking on right now used to be covered with all these pokey plants. And I'm pruning up these trees. This is what the land looks like before I get started. Boom, wild wilderness. I don't know if you can tell behind me here, where I'm starting to clear it out a little bit. This is what it looks like after I get done. So I'm not saying you need to buy a huge ranch in Montana, but you got to think about what you want your days to look like in retirement. And, living here now, I have way more activities than I have time to do. I do YouTube, I work on the land, I go down and go swimming in the river, we drive around, we explore little ancient villages around us. We've been to France a couple times. There is plenty of stuff to do here. You just have to craft the life that you want, and you have to look into the future to think about what you want your days to look like. And trust me, you'll never get bored. I know that you've heard people say that they retired and they were so bored they went back to work, but there's equal as many number of people who say they don't know how they ever had time for work now that they're retired because they have so many things to do. So craft the life that you want and you will not get bored. The second myth is that you need millions and millions of dollars to retire. And that's just not true. I retired without millions and millions of dollars. I have almost $0 invested in the stock market or sitting in the bank or in some big Scrooge McDuck account. I do have millions of dollars worth of real estate though. So I live off of the income from my rental properties, and you can have millions and millions of dollars in the bank and live off of your 4% rule or however you want to do it. But I don't need millions and millions of dollars because geo arbitrage is one of the things that I'm using. Here's another big pile of stuff that I chopped down on this trail. If you use geo arbitrage, living here in Spain, my expenses are about half of what they were in Florida. Healthcare's less expensive, wine is less expensive, all the important things. And I sold my house in Florida, and I took the cash and I bought this property here in Spain, and I had money left over, which is about most of the money that I do have in the stock market came from that little transaction of downsizing the house, upsizing the property, and having money left over. So there's more than one way to skin a cat. And, downsizing your house, you don't have to move to Europe or South America or Southeast Asia, but you can downsize the house. You can, cut expenses big that way, just getting rid of a mortgage. You can move to a cheaper area. There's a lot of things you can do to cut expenses. And again, this comes down to knowing what your expenses are and how much they're going to be after you retire, so that you know when to retire, because you could work too long if you don't know how much your retirement life is going to cost, and vice versa there. So this is, again, about knowing what you want your life to look like. The biggest mistake I think most people make about the retirement number, that everybody has a retirement number. And I think the biggest mistake people make is they come up with the number and then they try to figure out how to fit the life inside of the number. So they want 1 million or 2.4 million or whatever, and then they figure out how much money that pays them, and then that's the lifestyle they get to have. Instead of figuring out the lifestyle you want, figuring out how much that costs, and then backing into the retirement number. So the retirement number should be the last thing. Like, the lifestyle you want, it should be what you pick, and then the retirement number is just the number to get you to that point. The third myth is that retirement is the end and there's no more working, and you just sit on the couch, or you sit on the beach, or you play golf every day. And that is not the case either. You can still work in retirement. This YouTube channel is work. It doesn't really pay me any money, but it's fun and I like doing it. And it does pay me a little bit. So the things that you do in retirement, I call them recreational employment, because I came up with the acronym for the FIRE movement, which is Financial Independence, Retire Early. I call it financial independence, and then you don't have to work, and then you can have recreational employment, because especially when you retire early, you're not ready to just sit on the beach all day. You still need to fill the days. And like for myself, I have an entrepreneurial mind and I like to make money. So I have some little side projects. I'm working on a book. There's some other things that I do to make a little bit of income. So just because you retired doesn't mean you're not allowed to work or pick a fun career, have a passion project, write a book, have a blog, make stuff and sell it on Etsy, sell it at the farmer's market. There's a million things you could do that combine a hobby and income that's allowed in retirement. So don't let anybody tell you can't do that. People tell me all the time, dude, you're not retired. You have a YouTube channel and you have rental properties and all that stuff is work. And my response is, okay, that's fine. Call it whatever you want. But I don't have to get up and go to work every day. I don't have to do a commute. If somebody calls me and wants me to go sailing in the Virgin Islands for 10 days, I can just go do that because I don't have any work commitments. And number 4 myth is that it's all about the money. And what I mean by that is, it kind of goes back to what I've been talking about, is most people's retirement plan only involves how much money they're going to have and how much money they're going to save and how many years they have to work to get to that point. And then how much they live off of after they get the secret special number, as I was just talking about. And there's a lot more to plan than just the financial side. Like I say, you have to craft what you want your days to look like. Do you want to clear trails and have big piles of sticky, pokey branches all over the place? Or do you want to play golf every day? Or, do you want to go fishing every day? Do you want to travel? Do you want to be a slow, full-time traveler? There's 1,000 different things you can do with your life. But if you don't plan them in retirement, those are the people who get bored. Those are the people who run out of money. All those problems, all these myths stem from not knowing what you want your life to look like. So don't just make your retirement plan just about the money. Make it about what you want your life to look like, and the money will work itself out. And the 5th myth, the most disturbing myth, is the 5th myth. And that is that retirement is the end. I think some people put off retirement because they think, once they walk away from work and they're going to leave all their friends and they're going to just be alone in their house every day, and it's the end of everything. But that is the farthest from the truth. I've done more stuff since I've retired or not had to get up and go to work every day than I ever could have thought of. Living in the Virgin Islands, like the 10-day sailing trip that I just talked about, buying this property here in Spain. I got 35 acres of land here. Look, I don't know if you can see the view here today. It's kind of hazy and foggy. There's mountains back there. But I've done more with my life, with my money, with my time than I ever could imagine. Like, it's not the end, definitely. This is a new chapter. This is a new adventure living here in Spain. And it's probably not going to be my last adventure or my last chapter either. This is just the next chapter after the last 2 chapters that were after my work. Living in the Virgin Islands was a chapter. Moving back to Florida was a chapter. Coming here to Spain is a chapter. Like, this book is going to continue to go on and on and on as long as I choose to write it. When I stop to sit down and flip back in the pages and read it, there'll be a point where that comes. But until I got another good 10, 20 years in me at least. So don't think that retirement is the end. There's plenty of energy left in these old bones to still make a few new adventures. So just figure out what and you're not going to have to figure it out. It's like asking an 18-year-old what he wants to do for the rest of his life. You know, it doesn't have to be, there's not just one thing. You can't just plan one thing. I never thought I was going to live in Spain when I moved to the Virgin Islands. So you can adapt, you can roll with it, and just live the life that you want to live. So what do you think? Did I bust those 5 myths? Did any of that hit home? Are you still not believing me that one or two of those myths you might think are still true? Are any of them holding you back from retiring? Leave me some comments down below. Let me know if I helped you maybe move past a myth or you think I'm full of shit. Either way, leave me a comment down there. And you know, this is the Retirementality, where we want to change the way you think about retirement. So stick around if you want more information like this, and go watch this video if you're close to retirement but you're scared to pull the trigger. This one might help for that.